guys. Hi, gals. Let me get this camera adjusted. That's the problem with not having an assistant to help me. I'll lower that. Hello, everyone. I think I'm just a little bit higher. Appreciate everyone bearing with me. I thought tonight, it's such a cold, windy, damp, raining night. I'm making a vinyl video because I finally accumulated enough to change this light to make a video. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think I'm going to kill this one light. Now you may notice I'm in my jammies and my house coat. It's cold out there and I'm not going to change. So I got myself some chocolate milk. I'll put lower yes, which is in a McDonald's coffee cup, which I had coffee from there earlier. So let me take a drink and we'll get going. Like I said, it's been a long time since I did a vinyl video, and I'm going to show you what I got for this year so far, 2013, and I'm about to put all the selections on my Excel spreadsheet because I keep track of all of them. And we'll start off with Marvin Gaye. The Soulful Moods of Marvin Gaye. This is a Motown production produced by Gordon Berry. And back here is the original album cover. It was reissued later. And you know, every pop star now is doing standards. But Marvin was one of the first people to do it a long time ago. So happy to get a hold of that. And then the next one is the Alan Parsons Project, Eve. And it had the big hit, If I Can... What was that name of that hit? If I Could Change Your Mind. Oh, Damn If I Do, Damn If I Don't. Gatefold. Widows. And this is the vinyl is in great condition. It's a European pressing, German, and it's pretty good album. I'm kind of getting a little bit more into the Alan Parsons Project. I wasn't such a big fan back in the day, but I've got a few of their albums now. And I was very happy to find this one for $1. And by the way, all these I paid like $1, $1.50, $2 at the most. Chicago, the milk chocolate bar. And if you all remember, it had the #1 hit. Actually, their first #1 hit. I'm glad they finally had a #1 hit. Well, all the big hits they had. If You Leave Me Now. And it had the lead-off single, which did okay. Another Day in New York City. But I like this album a lot. It has some funky stuff, some nice middle road ballads. There's your milk chocolate bar. And I originally had this album, purchased it when it first came out, and so this will be a replacement copy because this is in very good condition. The vinyl's in great condition. Look at that. Plays nice, hardly any clicks and pops. So this will be a replacement. I like Chicago's later albums. Pretty good. The Carpenters, kind of a hush. The Dave Clark 5 song. This came out in, let's see, '76, along there. Richard and Karen Carpenter. Good condition. I don't buy vinyl unless it's in very good or great condition. The Stories had a hit, big hit back in '72, I think, called Brother Louie, about an interracial relationship, and I've never heard this album. I heard some really good things about it, and I played it. It was okay, but for $1, you can't go wrong. It did have the big hit, so have that. Three Dog Night, Golden Biscuits, and it does have some golden biscuits, for it has the hits. One, Easy to Be Hard, Mama Told Me, Eli's Coming, Celebrate, quite a few hits along with, 12 tracks all together, so I'm looking forward to hearing that. Gatefold, very dated. Vinyl's in decent condition. There we are. Another gatefold. Okay, so I found those recently. This next stack, I was lucky enough to score at a Thrift City, USA on Little Creek Road, and the lead-off vinyl, which I played. I never had any albums by Yes, but now I do. I take that back. I have 2 of their 1980s albums, but never any vintage 70s stuff. And I found Fragile, which belonged to a Thomas Dempsey. He wrote his name on it. So Thomas, if you're listening, I have it, and I paid $1.99. The cover is a little bit in rough shape, but there's no tear along the edges here, and it does have the booklet. That came with it. So, I was never a big Yes fan. I mean, I like the radio hits, and the ones off of this one, the tracks that really got played to death on the radio was Roundabout and Long Distant Runaround. But I was listening it today, and I think I'm going to really dig it. I was not a big fan of progressive rock, these type of bands, Emerson, Lake and Palmer and stuff, but it's nice to check it out along the way and re-examine it. So, Fragile. This is a band that I've really had good luck in scoring vinyl, because last year I got a couple of their really good 80s albums. One was in mint condition, like brand new. A compilation vinyl, and a couple of their early 70s albums. Well, I scored a couple of more early 70s albums, and I'm speaking of the Moody Blues. And this is an earlier pressing because it has no warning about copy infringement rights, as a lot of records did after a certain time. The vinyl's in pretty good condition. A few surface scratches, but I played them and they sound great. It's on the Threshold label, which is distributed by London Records. And I noticed Threshold, the vinyl's a bit thicker than what most record companies put out. So, but this, the Moody Blues, every good boy deserves favors, and it came out 1971, I think, and it had the big hit, The Stories in Your Eyes. But as an album, it's one of those you need to listen to it in its entirety, along with all the Moody Blues albums. And what's nice is it has texturing on it, the great artwork texturing, the heavy-duty paper stock, way albums used to be. So I'm happy to have that. Another Moody Blues albums I got. And I think this was the follow-up. The seventh Sojourn. It contained a hit. I'm a singer in a rock and roll band. Again, pretty thick vinyl. Threshold label. Pretty good condition. Very, very, very playable. Hardly any surface noise. And so my Moody Blues collection is building up. This one was weird because the cover is in rough shape. I mean, not horrible rough, but it's been around the block. It has ring wear and wear along the edges here and ring wear in the back. But I pulled out the album. Oh yeah, Steve Miller's Children of the Future, 1968. And I pulled out the album. The album was like brand new. Look at that. And hardly any. Sometimes you can tell how much an album's been played. Of course, if there's marks along here where the hole is, where you insert, because people will rub it against the label along here before meeting the hole. But I don't see any of those, and this vinyl is just as clean as the day it was pressed. So it sounds very good. And 1968, early Steve Miller, you know, before he really developed his commercial sound. And the Steve Miller Band from San Francisco, with love, with freedom, with good vibrations, the Steve Miller Band, Children of the Future, enriching the city, gathering all the dreams, living, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Bob Skaggs was working with Steve Miller at the time, and he wrote a number of songs. Baby Calling Me Home, Stepping Stone. Steve Miller wrote a good number of songs, and there's also a great version of the blues classic Key to the Highway. This is what happens when you take a kid who's playing blues in Chicago and put him in Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco, back in the day. You get psychedelic blues, And like I said, Steve Miller had not developed his commercial sound, but it's a very good album, and uncommercially good. And Capitol Records also had pretty thick vinyl. Another Capitol artist, and this is still in the shrink wrap, and it's like brand new. Linda Ronstadt, Heart Like a Wheel. This album really propelled her into stardom in the 70s with hits with the #1 hit "You're No Good," and "When Will I Be Loved," which was #2. "It Doesn't Matter Anymore," written by Paul Anka. And I was never a big fan of Linda Ronstadt's albums. I've always liked her singles. I found her albums to be quite, pass over, kind of boring. But this is a pretty good album. And like I said, it's like brand new. It has the inner sleeve, and I've always thought Capitol always had pretty thick vinyl, unlike RCA, which was horrible. So it's shrink wrap. It even has the sticker where it was purchased and how much it was. $6.98, art price $5.67, department 24 at Click. So never heard of that store. So I assume this was purchased not from this area. And another one that's in really mint-like condition in the shrink wrap, and I've seen his albums before at thrift stores, but they were always in such bad shape. But this one is in great condition. That's Leon Russell Carney, and it had two of his famous songs. The whole album's good. Tightrope and This Masquerade, which the Carpenters recorded, and George Benson had a big hit. And this came out in '71, and I looked it up, and actually went to #2 on Billboard magazine. And 1972, excuse me, I was a year off. And Leon was riding a crest of popularity, being in the concert for Bangladesh. This is an earlier issue, nice paper stock, no violation of copyright notice on there. They put that on later. And the vinyl plays really well. Leon dropped out of sight for a long time in the music industry, and kind of dropped out of the public eye. Still performing and playing, but no big venues. And 2 years ago, an album came out him and Elton John collaborated on, called The Union, and it did very well. It received very high critical praise. It did very well on the charts, and so that kind of brought Leon back. And a nice thing about that album, Leon was a pretty good contributor as far as writing songs. You would expect, Elton would dominate in that area, which he kind of did. Oops, I got to turn Yes over. But I think Leon kind of matched Elton song by song, and it brought the release brought notoriety back to Leon Russell, and got his career going again like it should be. It's very shameful that sometimes the public forgets really good artists and they fall into disrepair. So it's just the nature of the business. But Leon Russell Carney, and happy to find it. I had a copy of this, but when my vinyls went in storage, this copy got water damage, so I was very happy to find a replacement. Billy Joel's Piano Man, and I think this is his first album. It had one of his trademark songs, the Piano Man. The rest of the album's pretty good. I mean, again, a young artist developing his sound, and he wouldn't really reach that till The Stranger. So I'm happy to have that. We're getting near the bottom here. Simon Garfunkel, Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m. Their first album. A number of originals and some covers. It's a traditional version of The Times Are Changing. Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m. Paul Simon wrote. Let's see. Bleecker Street, Paul Simon wrote. Sparrow, Paul Simon wrote. Benediction, adopted by Paul Simon. And of course, The Sounds of Silence, which has the acoustic version on this album, written by Paul Simon. And the producer, took the record, augmented it with guitars and everything else. That was released as a single and went #1 and put Simon Garfunkel on the map. This is a later reissue, but it's in perfect condition. The vinyl, the cover, everything. So happy to find it. I was listening to it the other night, and the vocals sounded so fresh, and Simon Garfunkel, their vocals sounded so youthful. It was just amazing. So there was a lot of great things to come from that team. The last one is a guy who had been around, I think in the 50s, a blues guitarist, and he kind of modernized his sound for this album. But Johnny Guitar Winter Watson, and this is a 1977 release called A Real Mother for Ya. A Real Mother. This album's funky, it grooves, it's old school funk, and Johnny wrote all the songs, played most of the instruments. And this is actually a European pressing. So, and the title track, A Real Mother for Ya. But he used a very naughty word for mother. So, glad to find this. I've often seen this album. Johnny, like I said, had been recording in the 50s, and I got some of his CDs from that era, so it's nice to see what he was doing during the 70s. Unfortunately, some years back, he had a heart attack on stage and died and passed away. But anyway, that is it. That is it. Seemed like I'm off to a good year with my thrift store vinyls. I usually try to buy 100 a year. Last year I brought a little over 120, and just building and building and building. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to end it, Please send me your comments. Insult me if you like. Anything. A quick shout out to a friend of mine named Joyce, wishing her a happy birthday today. Goodbye. I gotta cut the camera off.